Hi, I'm John Paul, and a really warm welcome back to my channel. Today it's going to be a continuation of a series of conversations which I've been doing about complements to talking therapy. But this one, we're going to be focusing on art of the therapeutic effect of art. And I'm absolutely delighted to have on with me Nelly Khanum to talk about, she is an artist and works with people therapeutically with art in a place called the Fire Pit, but she'll introduce herself and talk all about that. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on, Nelly.
Hi, thank you for having me, John.
So can we just start by looking at how you found your way into therapeutic art? So just talk about your journey.
Right, so I am a full-time mum, full-time artist, a full-time everything.
Yeah.
I do host a lot of art therapy, but my art practice within itself is always reflecting a lot about mental health practice.
Mm-hmm.
The way I kind of came about it is mainly through, like, say, my own journey. I've always been a creative person.
Mm-hmm.
However, I've always found as a child and growing into an adult that being creative was a sense of escapism.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've always had a thing where we stick to the 9 to 5 job, stick to these rules. I've always found that being creative was a space where there was no judgment, no rules.
Yeah.
And it's such a surreal yet a real world that you get to live in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the best form, in my own opinion, of expressing
Mm-hmm.
everything that we witness, everything that goes through our minds and stuff as well. And I think more so, I think made me get into this way is actually being able to bring that child back into our adult lives,
Okay.
because art is such a visual thing, and it has its own definition in so many ways, and it's such an open criticism, but it's the one thing that you can actually genuinely have ownership for and say, this is me and this is mine. I think it doesn't matter how or what an opinion comes out of what your art is, because to
Mm-hmm.
you achieved it. And
Yeah.
it was what you were feeling in that moment, or it was what you were going through, that makes it so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the sense of pride and the sense of ownership that we have when we create art as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is all your feelings, all your compassions, all your struggles, all your feelings on this one piece of something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it's the best way you can actually express yourself as well.
So how would a session be structured? So I mean, what kind of things are offered at the Fire Pit?
I mean, Fire Pit is one of the most amazing, honestly, amazing spaces I've ever come across. The team's fabulous. I mean, it was an old restaurant converted into an art gallery slash studio slash workshop. So anytime anyone's in North Greenwich in London, honestly, do drop a visit.
Yeah.
This is one of the most humble places I've ever worked for as well. Um, so myself and there's a couple of more artists, but we do have a lot of more external people who come through as well. And we do tend to do a lot of workshops. Because my work alone represents mental health, my workshops do the same. So I structure it like a monthly basis. However, every month is a whole different theme, a whole different challenge.
Okay.
So it could have been okay, and it is okay for me to have hosted, say, a sip and paint, or I guide you, you paint, you follow. But that went against what my practice is.
Mm-hmm.
What I tend to do with a lot of these workshops is I will bring you in and I'll have a challenge. And I've done stuff where I blindfold and I'll put so many different affirmations on, different music, poetry.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And you paint with everything closed, because what I've learned, and as we have always said, art is so visual, is a lot of these art classes, even I attend to, the first thing I've always heard is, I'm not good at painting, I'm not great drawing. Oh, you're such a great artist. And straight away, you feel there's judgment, there's comparison.
Mm-hmm.
And me personally, I believe that shouldn't have to be the case, because you're here to create what you want to create. It's what you see.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of breaking that social stigma to know that we are all different, and
Mm-hmm.
however we are, all our imperfections are perfect. There's no right or wrong. Hence why There's paintings that can get sold or are appreciated with that simple line, but that artist or that creator stayed true to what they believed in at that moment and what they see. And I feel that's how we should actually be within ourselves in every day. So
Mm-hmm.
these workshops, when I do it, as much as it's creating and breaking all these social stigmas, breaking judgments, making everyone feel at ease, it's also people actually like kind of believing in themselves again
Yeah.
and kind of accepting how we are and who we are. And it's funny because when people come in, they come in with the biggest fright when I tell them what the challenge will be.
So you frame at the beginning, do you? You explain some of the things you've
Yes,
been saying just
yes,
now. Would you say that as an
most
introduction, or?
definitely. I would always have to do that. I mean, and when I advertise the workshop, there is obviously a little brief description, but when
Yeah.
they come in, I do explain to them that this is what the challenge is. I mean, the next one I did where they had to draw with two hands. Another
Okay.
one was where everyone was blindfolded again, but they had to keep passing their work around this whole group of strangers
Wow.
and explaining to each other, okay, my vision is lemons. And in the most bizarre way, everyone drew lemons.
Mm.
They kept passing everyone's work around, and it came to show how much we listen, how much we
Mm-hmm.
adapt into everyone else's. And it was beautiful to see that people actually do listen,
Mm.
do follow. And it was at least 80% of that class who said, I can't, actually exceeded the best.
As it said at the beginning, that when you explained it, they said that they couldn't do it.
No, I kid you not, John. When I explain it, if I could show the expressions,
Right.
I'm a visualist, and when I see the fear at first, I'm like, guys, it will be fine. It'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, no, but we can't paint, we can't. And I was like, just trust yourself. So what I try to do is get them as relaxed as possible, and that
Mm-hmm.
mainly comes to putting on a lot of music. They have little breaks in between. We have a little communication. There's times people are quite comfortable to speak about why they're here or whatever, and it's not always because they have a struggle. Maybe it's just actually picking up a new challenge.
Yeah.
Some people already have experience in art. Some people just come for the sake of having fun.
Yeah.
Whichever one it is, it's still okay. But the best one is always to see the ones who say they can't, and
Mm.
they're always the last ones to leave.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, did you prove yourself wrong? And they go, you know what, we actually did. And I always feel like how whatever you learn from that art therapy class, adapt that into your everyday life.
Mm.
And it kind of makes it so much more easier to know that if a mistake is done on the paper, so is this mistake done on life, it's always there to rectify and it's always there to learn from as well.
Mm.
So I try to adapt that every day with the art and through these workshops as well.
Yeah. So, gosh, there's just so much in it as far as the
There is.
benefits that
It's very
people.
fun though. No, it's very, very
Oh, I'm
fun.
sure. Yeah. And is there quite a lot of talk? I mean, is there some talking and some processing of things, and or is it generally the experience?
I think it's a bit of both. I think when we step into the territory of any form of therapy, it's such a vulnerable space.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, I do question at times like, okay, how come, what made you come here, or how did you hear about us?
Mm.
And just through these conversations, you'll hear like they like coming to art therapy, or they wanted to try a new experience,
Yeah.
or they've just been genuinely kind of feeling a bit low. Um, it always kind of variates because my sessions are from a good like 2 to 3 hours, and it's a whole group.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll have people just come up to me and they'll have a chit chat, or even we'll take breaks and we're like, so what influenced you to paint this? And you'll see so many different colors, different shapes,
Mm.
different themes. And there's no theme. There's never no theme that like I never say, okay, today we're painting black. And straight away, they'll start to talk about the colors. They're like, oh, I was feeling a bit like this, so I felt I want to use the colors black. And just from that alone, a conversation comes up. The
Mm-hmm.
person across will be like, well, I used the color red because I was feeling extremely bright and happy. Another person was feeling quite vulnerable. And just through certain conversations,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it is quite minimal. sometimes it can be quite extensive, but it always depends on how everyone's feeling. And for myself, I mean, I don't want to scare people off or put them in a space where I feel like, okay, you have to speak. It's when they're comfortable. But if they're not, they express as much as they can through. And I do go around and I'll ask what influenced you, and maybe at that point, say the poetry that was on or the music that was playing, they're like, that gave me a sense of calm. That kind of reflected how I was going through today. Some people are like, I just had enough with work or the kids. And just simple things like that. Simple things like that.
Yeah.
And I always try to explain, no matter what, we're all here to feel free, to break these rules, to have the time to ourselves, to be able to just express as free as possible. But it's always giving them that safe space. That's the main thing, to feel that this is a place where I can come to express. But more so, yeah. And like I said, the fun bit is the challenge. Because
Right.
I mean, if I sit there and give them a brush, they'll just paint or whichever. And there's time that I do hear it, but I can't draw this line. And I'm like, whatever the line is, go for it. I'm not an art instructor. I'm not here to teach you how to paint, how to draw. I want you to do what you feel, but set with the theme I've just given you.
And I suppose it's the people that are occupying more that sort of left, rather than the left brain logic, which people's work, they're having to do quite a lot of the time, isn't it? It's the creative is more the right hand side of the brain, and they're occupying that much more, which they may not get to do that much during their everyday life.
Just don't. I mean, it's funny you said about the left and right, because another workshop I did was, and I'm doing it again, funny enough, because it's been quite demanding, is 2 hands, 1 vision, where you draw with 2 hands. Provide materials. So there's pens to start with, paper, whichever one they feel comfortable with. So there's all sorts of materials and resources. It's a self-image, but they get to draw it with their 2 hands.
So it's 2 sides of the brain as well, isn't it?
The sides of the brain. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And I kid you not, I mean, I have the videos to it, and straight away was the same thing. And I always expect it, always expect it, because when I come with the first challenge, they're like, oh, we can't do this. I'm like, yes, you can. And straight away, you'll see them, they'll struggle a bit, they stop, they struggle a bit, they stop, but then they keep going. I'm like, well, you're not leaving until you don't finish what we're doing.
Right.
And before you know it, they're actually having a blast. They're just having the time of their life, and they get to create how they want. And they're like, and a lot of time it is using that other part of the brain. It's using that vulnerable side that we don't. It's showing out that side that we're kind of afraid to show sometimes. So that's how I try to put it into the form of art. I kid you not. I mean, seeing people do a self-portrait with 2 hands, it was amazing, absolutely amazing to see. I mean, I struggled.
Right.
And I'm the one who just gave the challenge.
Yes.
And I even join in. Majority of the times I always join in, because it's a challenge for myself as much as for them. And it's honestly what they created at that point was just like, okay, great. 90% of these people will come in and they're like, we can't do this. And I'm like, we're so structured to using this one side. We're so structured to always staying in this robotic way and having this form, this 9 to 5, everything's a structure. How about we don't? How about we let loose on the other side that wants to be free? And then everyone who came, they're like, but I'm not left-handed. I go, well, today you are. And they were left and they were right. And they realized that everything kind of flowed together. And as I always say, that form of art does always come back into our everyday.
I'm sure. Just going back to the music and affirmations and that kind of thing. The next conversation going to be had is going to be with a music therapist, actually. But it sounds like, I mean, you create the safety. The environment does as well, doesn't it? It sounds like, also, you said there'll be affirmations and sort of music to regulate people. Can you just say a bit more about that?
So again, the way I see it is I have to, not saying it's the right or wrong way, but I have to come with some form of confidence when I'm doing these art workshops. And a lot of my art practice always says, I listen to music when I paint. And different music sets different themes. We go through a heartbreak, we'll put on a heartbreak music. You know, with cleaning, we have a little, any kind of mood you feel, the music always reflects it. And a lot of times I was going to all these like poetry classes and spoken words, which again we host at Fire Pit. Never been to one. And I realized how powerful words can be and how powerful poetry or words unites people. And that kind of gave me a lot of influence to think, okay, wow, words do have such a great impact. Um, and as the saying goes, you know, words can't break me, but words do have a big part. And sometimes we see art that has words in it. And it's how much our brain actually soaks in these words. So again, when I was putting on certain music, there was some raw stuff in there, some positive affirmations, some like very zen music. And from that first workshop, I remember asking for a feedback, and they said, well, you know, we'd like a bit more of the music. Some people walked off with the whole playlist as well. And they're like, oh, the music was really uplifting. So just receiving that feedback to say, okay, it's all quite new to me as well, but is it having an effect? And they're like, yeah, it did. Because you could see when people moving around as they painted, and whilst they're blindfolded, whilst they've got their two hands going, they move with that music. Or I'll play it and I'll give them like a little pause, like a quick 1 minute pause just to soak in the words that they've just heard. And then they paint. So I feel words alone itself is so powerful. So powerful. But again, visually seeing the effect it has on them. I can't do a workshop without music, no.
Okay. Well, and there's movement as well, it sounds like.
There's definitely.
I mean, you've been talking really throughout about the benefits of it. I mean, all kinds of things, isn't there? Trust of self, trust of others. I think breaking through what holds a lot of people back is themselves, really. It's fear, isn't it? Often. And there's a huge component, I think, in as far as, or limiting self-beliefs, which is people breaking through that and proving to themselves that they can do these things that they would otherwise have been fearful of. Fear holds people back from so many things, doesn't it? It's very limiting. So it's very much an experience of breaking through that, isn't it? Or moving through it to a place where they surprise themselves. And but as far as you know, benefits and what you've seen with people,
I think the benefits is sometimes the most simplest thing to me is just a smile. Our body language says a lot about us. And when I see everyone come in and they're like, oh, but we thought you were going to teach us. I go, no. And seeing a face of fear to seeing a face of accomplishment.
Amazing, yeah.
Honestly, it's showing the confidence that they come out with rather than coming in with. And more so like when they walk out and they actually love themselves about it. And that's the benefit. Not us. I mean, I'm not a therapist, but I think it's having that mindset as well. Because they go back and they're like, yeah, I can do this now. I was like, you just proved something to yourself. And I think that's the main benefit. The main benefit is bringing that inner child back into themselves. Because sometimes you can sit with the child and they'll go on all day. They're like, look what we create. And I'm sure a lot of people, and you don't have to be a parent for this, a lot of people have that painting on their fridge that's a scribble.
Yeah.
And that child has said, well, that's mommy and daddy. And you're thinking, well, that looks like a scribble to me. Right? But
because it is.
yeah, but that child comes home so proud of this one thing they created. And it's that sense of ownership that they have. And it's that it is such a proud and achievement feel that they take back with them. And I think that's the main benefit. And for them to actually come to see that. And there's some people, don't get me wrong, John, they don't speak, and that's still fine. But they keep painting. And the ones I've noticed who don't speak the most is the one who leave the class the last, because they still creating, they're still expressing. And just to see that a fear of that paintbrush ends up becoming an excitement, or ends up becoming that they don't want to go. And sometimes it exceeds over my workshop time. And because I see that they're so comfortable, I myself will be like, okay, it's time to go now. I'm like, you know what, that's fine. And I think it's the main benefit is actually breaking that norm of that every day.
Yeah.
And breaking the structure that we have, and the fact that they do realize art itself is a therapy, and art is not something that always has to be perfect. It doesn't have to be great. You don't have to have any experience whatsoever. Me as an artist, I don't believe anyone's better than anybody, or anyone's work is great, or like, oh my god, that's an amazing piece. Because for you it might be amazing, but for an artist that probably was their worst piece. But then it comes to a space of judgment, and it's just amazing that they walk out. And I think it's what they say after these workshops, the benefits I hear is like, oh my god, I actually did this, I can't believe I did this, or I'm gonna go frame it, or I'm coming back to the next one. And that shows that they gain that confidence and that self-belief that they didn't possibly have, or didn't have as much. But it makes me happy. It really, really makes me happy. It makes me warm to see that they enjoy and they go back believing. And a lot of times I see the same faces again.
Okay. Yes, I
Which
was wondering that, whether they come back for different.
Oh no, they do. They come
Yeah.
back, and they come back with a whole group, or they come
Right.
back with somebody else, or they will say, "Oh, we heard about you because our friend came to this event." So it's kind of nice to know that the word is spreading, and it's all positive, it's all love in there, and it's all warm. So it should be. So it's nice that they do come back. I
Well,
love having.
I mean, they literally, you can see them going, I suppose, from that place of fear to one of connection,
Yeah,
disconnection to connection,
yeah,
isn't it? Of self as well, that
yeah.
they fear they will make a mistake, to a place where there are no mistakes, which is very connecting, isn't it? And also, I think the other amazing thing, which I'm sure works very well for people, not even necessarily consciously, but at the start, it might be something that causes fear, but actually, being around other people and in a group as well, it's that connection with others as well, and you, of course.
Most definitely. Psychologically, I always say this, that we're all in this life together, and we're all here to have these mistakes, and we're all here for it. I mean, when I did my first ever workshop, it was daunting for me because I thought, am I prepared for it? And as much as they were blindfolded, the last bit of the challenge was we all created this one masterpiece together, and it's part of our exhibition in the gallery.
Wonderful. Wow.
And we all got up and we all added a piece to this one piece to create a masterpiece. Because what we don't realize, we all come from so many different part of life and so many different struggles, but we're all doing this whole life together. And unless we don't share, unless we don't offload to somewhat degree, we don't realize that we're not actually alone on this. We learn from each other. Sometimes we can get so quite caught and so fearful, to obviously finding it hard to express ourselves, or even just to find the right person to speak to.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to go to maybe more than one therapist to find the right one. So same goes with friends, same goes with family, same goes with jobs, until you find what it is that you feel the most at ease at. And I think that's what I was trying to break. That, I mean, a lot of, like I said, my practice always goes back to breaking the social stigmas, and so are these workshops. Is
Yeah.
we're all here to learn from each other, so allow ourselves to be as vulnerable as we can, and also trust the process, trust ourselves, and be able to trust others,
Yes.
because we do go through a lot of traumas where we close off, and it's understandable to why. But life is about living. We should be able to relive it as many times as we can, because we only get the one.
Yes. Trust the process. Those are famous words from therapy, actually, that, and training to be a therapist, really. Because I suppose in some ways that's the process people may be going through as therapists, all human beings, really, isn't it? Moving from that place of fear of self and others, in some ways, which can come from traumatizing experiences. We overprotect, don't we? And into an environment where there is nothing, there's no wrong, no criticism,
No,
nothing to be fearful of. I understand there's still that part of people's brain that will step forward, isn't there? And but it's just amazing what
It is.
sounds
It
like
is.
what you do. Yeah.
No, it is most definitely, and it goes back to that because it is putting ourselves into a vulnerable space.
Yeah, people are brave to do
Yeah,
it.
you
Really brave.
have to be
Yeah.
very brave. And it's the small steps. It's the small steps. And because I know they come from vulnerable places, in general, we all do. Doesn't matter whether we hold trauma or not,
Yeah.
we all are vulnerable. And it takes a lot to come out of our shell. It takes a lot just to be able to express. Hence why the music's there as that extra support.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's always fun. And I always go back to having one person who struggles so much and like, I can't do it. I can't. And I think I spend majority of my workshops and they're like, can you help me? And as much as the artist in me want to be like, okay, you have to use the brush like this, I went, no. I mean, generally just doing that and showing her that she can break the norm and she can have her free space in her own head. And eventually she did. So as we said, yeah, it is trust the process. And eventually she did trust herself.
These are all the wonderful benefits. Challenges. I mean, you said when you first did it, you felt nervous doing it. I understand that may not be around as much now for you. But what would you say are the kind of challenges of doing this?
Oh, well, challenges are actually coming up with a new idea for
Okay.
my next workshop. There is
Yeah.
a next workshop, which is a hug workshop. So it's all about how a hug helps our mental health. Have I thought about it? No, it's literally next week. But
Okay. Yeah.
I have given it somewhat thought. I think the challenges for myself does come up with coming up with a new idea. Um, but I think mainly is being in a space where myself, sometimes for myself or for everyone who attends, is how open they are to open their wounds. Because we have to open our wounds in order to heal. And it is always that big question of if and when. And as I always say, because I am not a therapist, I am not there for that. But I am there to show that art is a therapy and that creativity will put them as ease as possible. And no matter what challenges they do face, there's always that safe place to come to. Because, a lot of times we journal, we go for walks, we go to the gym. And there's so many forms of therapy. And I think that's the challenge, to think, will they come back? Did they really benefit from this? Hence why I do have these feedbacks. Hence why I do talk to them a lot when I see them and I do see these faces again. It's always that question is, are they ready? But then when are we ready?
Yes. You said about learning a new skill. Do you think creativity is innate, inborn? You were talking, I mean, I sort of, young will create, won't they? They'll build things. But I just wonder whether it is inborn in human beings or whether it's something, what your view on that would be, or whether we teach people to be creative, we model it.
There's a famous quote from Picasso. It says, every child is an artist. It just if they wish to become an artist. We all are. We're all born. We are all born with some form of creativity in us. It's just, I think what happens is we put in ourselves in such a rock where we have to feel we have to perform the best in it. I left art for a while and then I went back into it, and straight away it was the same thing. I was like, oh my God, everyone's so good. Art has changed so much. There's so many different media people uses. There's so many different ways to approach galleries, different exhibitions now. And I was like, am I good enough? And I think it goes back to having our self-belief that yes, I am good enough. And I think that's with anything we do, is you have to keep going.
Yeah.
We start off bike riding with stabilizers until we take them off and we can fully ride. And we have that confidence. And the same thing goes with driving. The more you do, the more you fail. You just keep going. And I think it's that end goal. But I think it doesn't always have to mean going to a workshop. It doesn't always have to mean painting. It could just mean sitting and doodling. It could mean, like you said, music. Cooking is a form of creativity.
Totally. Yeah.
So creativity to me comes in so many different ways, but sometimes you kind of think just through a simple conversation or just the use of colors or just a paintbrush itself, becomes so healing within itself. To me, creative is art, but to other people, creative could mean a lot of things. But I think it means you giving yourself back that time to feel free,
Yeah.
giving yourself back that time to break rules in the most safest way possible. Be okay to let loose. Just be okay.
Well,
Because
you said break rules in a safe way. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? And that also it's rules that we've made about ourselves, perhaps,
yeah,
isn't it? It's those limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves that we can't do this, or we're not an artist, or whatever it might be. I also think what you said about introducing it into everyday life as well. Of course, formal class. I say formal classes, but something like yours just sounds amazing. But people can be doodling and doing all kinds of things at home with a spare 20 minutes, half an hour, can't they?
it's a difficult one because of the age and time that we live in now as well, because people feel like, okay, so you're an artist, do you have an exhibition, do you paint at a gallery, do you sell your work? And sometimes you think, no, just create it in my bedroom.
Yeah,
that's okay. You know, I've met some people, funnily enough, over an event, and this person is a 9 to 5 financed person, and they would love to design t-shirts, and I was like, what's stopping you? And they're like, well, I have bills to pay. And I was like, well, if it's something you're so passionate about, not saying you quit your job, because yes, you do have bills to pay,
yeah.
but try and give yourself more time where you give that creativity some time, because that's where the most fun is at.
So inspiring, Nelly, I'm finding anyway. It's a great, well, I mean, I think what's come through specifically about, the classes that you run, but also generally, lots of things you've been saying about, which are life lessons really in some ways. But what would you say, I mean, generally for you, you may have said some of them, but about what you've learned through it all?
I think that's the one thing I've learned is I've gone back to my inner child, and it heals every day just through a stroke of a brush.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing. And this is why I do these workshops,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to bring people back into that place and be like, hey, it's okay, we're in it together, let's paint, let's create, and let's paint the whole time red if we have to.
Just been wonderful. Thank you so much, Nelly. It's been really inspiring, as I say, to listen to. And if people want to come and have a look at the fire pit and your courses and that kind of thing, how can they contact you?
So we are based in London,
Mm-hmm.
not far from the North Greenwich station, by the O2 Arena. As again, like you said, you'll put the details in.
Yeah.
So we are on Instagram, we are on the internet. If you check out Fire Pit Studios, you can check out myself as well onto social media, as we do nowadays.
Brilliant.
Everything's there, and we have workshops literally every week, every month. It's such a cool spot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great spot. So we'd love to have anyone and everyone there.
Oh, I must visit. It was a friend of mine, Rosie, who came to see you, and she was that put us in touch. But she's a therapist. But I must come and visit.
Definitely. I mean, we might have another supper club. I think there's a pasta making workshop coming up.
Oh, okay.
But there's loads coming up. Loads. There's always something.
Fantastic. Well, I'll look into it. But we're going to have to bring it to an end. But thank you so much. It has been really fascinating, so interesting. And I can, all the kind of parallels actually in some ways with therapy and how it relates there, and from disconnection to connection, trust of self, trust of others, creating safety, all kinds of things, which I think people will find really interesting and, as I say, really inspiring as well. So thank you, Nelly.
Thank you so much, John.
Okay.
And just don't feel afraid to pick up that paintbrush.
Well, right. I won't.
All right.